Minecraft series. So in this video, as you saw in the title of this video, we will be taking a look at how to code biomes, how to add your own custom biomes, and also how to add trees to the world. Okay. Now the hard part about coding this is, first of all, the biomes. That's I would say the least of the hardest between the trees and the biomes, how to code. And the trees are actually especially quite hard because you have to make the depth. Let me see over here. Yeah, so this depth variable, you can see now it's -8 before it was 0, and that's because we have to go above the terrain surface, okay? And it's kind of weird because it's -8, but because it's v minus d, when d is minus, it's plus, right? Because minus plus minus times minus is a plus. So yeah. Anyways, but I will get to that as I code this, or as I explain to you guys how to code this. So you saw the preview. It was pretty nice. Obviously, the frame rate can be much better, but that's mainly because of JavaScript. It's quite a slow language relative to like C#, Java, and stuff like that. And also, our code isn't the most efficient. But obviously, at the very end, I'm going to make this code so much more efficient. So the first thing, let's see. So added world gen. Yeah, so I'll get to that after, but let's see. So added sand, texture, and block. Okay, so let me just put this over here. So this is the Minecraft folder. Obviously, sorry, there's a Minecraft directory where I store all of the files, and that's why there's so many more, because I have like other projects. But there's a folder called texture, which you also have, and that's in the same directory. And you can see I added, since the last video, I think I added oak leaves and oak log. And I also added sand. Okay, so if you want, you can just go to GitHub, download these, and or if you want, you can just make it yourself. And what I did was, let's take a look at sand. I made a file over there, a screenshot, or it's like a picture, called sand.png. And you have to make sure it's called, like, you have to you basically have to remember this name. Okay, and it's best if you just name it the same as the folder, it's just easier. And then I have oak log. Okay, so I have a side, a top, and a bottom. Top and bottom is pretty much the same. And oak leaves, I have, so there's like a transparent texture pack, you could say. And this is the one that I use in the preview. Okay, and I actually haven't tried this, but we can at some point. That'll look pretty cool, because then the leaves will be like transparent. So yeah, so that's that. Added sand texture block. So there's quite a lot that we have to go through. Hopefully this video won't be over 30 minutes like last video, so we have to get this going, okay? So added world gen and biome gen and trees gen variables at the start. So that's over here, okay? So before, let me just open that program also. So here, yeah. So before, we had just one noise function for the world, right? We just had math.round noise.purlin2 x of z of blah, 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 okay? But we need a biome noise to see which biome it is, and a tree noise to see if like trees should spawn there, because this world gen noise, that basically controls the shape of the world, okay? So this controls the shape of the world, like how high and stuff, okay? And this controls which biome, and this controls if there should be a tree. A tree there, okay? So add a specific x and z coordinate, okay? Yeah, so therefore we need 3 noise functions, okay? And I will show you guys how to integrate this into the code after. But now I'm going to take a look at, noise seed chaining. So this is where I show you how to integrate it. So firstly, let's just go to the initial world generation code, which is over here. What you can see I did was, let me just compare this to the initial one. So instead of this, right, I wrote noise.seed world gen, okay, and var v is equal to, so that's still over here, and then I changed the seed of the noise, okay, because the noise library, it has to have a seed, right, and I want to change that seed to a biome gen. And notice how all of these are random numbers from 0 to 1 that get defined at the very start of the program, okay. And also one thing that I removed was, where'd it go? Yeah, over here. Noise.seed method random. We're now doing that inside the initial chunk generation code. Okay, so I sort of removed that. Yeah, you can see it's not there. I just added these three variables. So yeah, so after I did noise.seed world gen, that's the noise of the world. I then did this. That's what we had before, over here. Okay. So just saying 3D Minecraft 2 is what I've coded for this video, and this is the last video. Okay. And then for biome, just before that, I changed the seed again to biome gen. Okay. And then I calculated the biome, and this is interesting because I created a function called getBiome, and this takes in a noise value n, and says that if the noise value is smaller than 0.2, because the noise value can range from -1 to 1, and if it's smaller than 0.2, it's a plains biome. If it's larger than 0.2, it's a desert biome. Okay, and this will be explained in more depth after. Okay, so I basically call that function. I put in the noise value into that function to get which biome it is, and this argument is noise.purlin2 xoff divided by biome size. So basically, I wrote over here, biome size is a variable. The higher this number gets, the larger the biomes get. Okay, and that makes sense because then xoff will be really small, so the increment will be really small, and it'll be sort of like a smooth terrain or like a large biome. Okay, yeah, so that's getBiome. And the good part about this, using xoff divided by biome size and zoff divided by biome size, is we can vary the biome size. So the user in the settings, later when we create the settings menu, we can add all these functions and we can like vary them. So yeah, then I did the same thing for trees gen, and gen stands for generation. Okay, so trees generation. And then for tree noise is the same thing, but with tree density. Instead of biome size, we have tree density. Okay, tree density. And I'll get to can put leaf afterwards. Okay, so that's that part over there. Next, let's take a look at, yeah, so I still have to take a look at this. So I added sand texture block, right? So first of all, yeah, so I added sand over here and oak leaves and log. So I added like a new object in the blocks array. Okay, and make sure that it's in the same corresponding place as in the block types array. So you can see grass is first, so grass is first over here. Dirt is second, dirt is second. Cobblestone third, and so on. Okay, sand is last, so sand is also last over here. So I also added a new property to each of these objects, to each of these object elements, and it's called biomes over here. And that basically shows, that tells us which biomes can the block exist in. That's really useful. Okay, so for example, grass that can only exist in the plains biome. Okay, so far I only have plains and desert biome. You can obviously add some more. Okay, and then yeah, just make sure if you add a biome over here, you have to like fiddle around with this code and say that, like you have to fix the ranges. So you have to say, like you have to let in some room for your custom biome, right? So say if I wanted to add a forest biome, then I would have to make like this, like 0.1, and then from ranging from 0.1 to, let's say n should be smaller or equal to 0.5, and then everything larger than 0.5. So if n is larger than 0.5, then return forest, and so on. Okay, but so far I only have two biomes. Just keep it simple. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I think it was like that. I'm not so sure. Whatever. Okay. Wait. Yeah, I think it was a 0.2. 0.2. So yeah. Okay. So just like that, now we have, yeah, so biomes property. So for example, cobblestone can exist in plains and desert. That makes sense because it's below the ground. And oak log can only exist in plains, and same with oak leaves. And sand can only exist in the desert biome. Okay, obviously, I mean, why would you find sand in a plains biome? So, yeah, just like that. So afterwards, let's see. Added biomes property. Yeah, that's what I just showed you. Added getBiome function. Yep. and added a biome variable inside the world generation code, determines the biome. Yep, I also showed you that. Added and in the if statement for creating the new block object. Okay. Yeah, okay, so basically from here on, it's just making the tree, okay? So I've showed you how to make the biome, now just making the tree. So let's see, yeah. So first of all, we just have to talk about the depth. So let's just get on to the depth. So first over here, the depth was 0, okay? So 0 is basically when it's at the surface, right? And then you're increasing the depth. So that means you're going more down. So if the depth is negative, it's going above the surface, right? It's going like higher and higher. So I started the depth at -8 because I wanted trees to be 8 blocks higher than the surface, okay? That's how tall I wanted them to be. You can obviously vary that. And yeah, so that's that. And I said that if the depth is larger or equal to 0, that means that it's going down, so it's going underground, and it's on the surface. Then you just put like the code that we had in the last video. So this stuff, you can see that is exactly the same as here. Okay, so this just says if it's like the ground, then do this. Okay, but now here's the trees. Okay, and this else over here says that if the depth is smaller than 0. Okay, if it's smaller than 0, then that means above the ground. So in this case, they're going to be trees. Okay, and then I said if the biomes is plains, because what if we want to add forest biomes and the tree density will be different? Then I said, yeah, so first there's the code for adding like the tree trunk. I basically said if parse float of the tree noise. Okay, so now what is a tree noise? The tree noise, like I said, is the noise for the tree generation. It tells us it's like it's like a noise function which gives random values but smoothly. Okay, and yeah, so we can look at that and say I basically rounded that to 3 decimal places, and then I took the parse float of that, and because this is a string over here, that's a string now, so I have to take the parse float of it. And I said if that is equal to 0.001, then do this. Okay. You can also do like 2 fixed 2 is equal to 0.01 because now it's 2 decimal places, and that means that more trees are going to be there, right? Because think about it. If you have let's just see, get the console. So if you have like 0.123 and 0.115 and 0.015, okay? And if you rounded that to 1 decimal place, then obviously you would have more 0.1s because you have 2 0.1s here, right? 0.1 and 0.1, and you would have 1 0.0, okay? So that's how this works, basically. And then I said, if the depth is from 0 to -8, so that's basically, I didn't really have to say that, I think, because anyways, the depth is going to be smaller than 0 over here, so I think I can just remove that actually. I'll see, okay? So I think I'll fix that afterwards. But what I was saying is that I think I can just remove this if statement, because anyways, inside this, the depth is anyways going to be lower than 0, because I said else over here. So here, if the depth is larger than 0, and then else. So I don't think I need this over here. But anyways, then I made a matrix called log matrix, okay, with the positions, and then I said, if the depth is not equal to -8, okay, then add blocks, okay? Did I do this in the last video? Yes. Yeah. So basically, oak log index and oak leaves index, that basically just tells us what index in the blocks array or in the block types array is oak leaves and oak log, okay? And that I just did that using index of, pretty easy, right? So for example, oak log, that's 0, 1, 2, 3, that's index 3, and oak leaves is index 4. So yeah, so over here, if the depth is not equal to 8, which means it's not at the top leaf, okay, then yeah, so what this means is that the trunk is going to be 7 blocks high, right? Because 1, you have -1, you have -2, you have -3, -4, -5, -6, and -7, and it cannot be -8. Then I want to basically set the matrix at the count. Okay, I want to increase the count, and yeah, it's pretty simple. And then I want to add the trunk block to the chunk array. Okay, the trunk block, sorry, the wooden block to the chunk array. Okay, and yep, so that's that. It's not a placed block, that's why I put false over here. And then I do exactly the same thing. So basically, if D is 8, which means that it's like at the top leaf, then you want to just do exactly the same thing, but just with leaves. So you can see instead of oak log index, I have oak leaves index, and I have oak leaves index, pretty much. Okay, so that's that. And then I say if, however, the D is smaller than -6 and can't put leaf is true. Okay, so smaller than -6. Let's see what that is. That's smaller or equal to -6. That's -6, -7, and -8. That means that like a leaf can exist in those depths, right? It's -6, -7, and -8. And can put leaf is true. So what does that mean? If we go up, I put this for loop over here, okay? This loop. So this basically checks if there's supposed to be a tree next to this x and y, this next to this x and z position. So I basically made this algorithm that, let's say you're at let me just go over here. Yeah, so let's say you're at a certain xz position. This basically checks. Oh yeah, okay. Let me just go over here actually. Let's say I'm over here, okay? And this algorithm basically checks if there are any trees around me, okay? If there are any trees around me, and there is one, okay? There's one, and therefore it will put a leaf over here, okay? Right above where I am, obviously, right? If there's supposed to be a tree next to you, like and when I say tree, I mean like the tree trunk, then obviously there's supposed to be a leaf over there, right? Makes sense. So that's how these leaves are generated. So that's that. And if it detects one, then can't put leaf is true. Again, then break for better performance. And just like that, if can't put leaf is true, then I'm saying the same. Why did I put a? Oh yeah, sorry. I have to redo this to 0.001. Okay, so just like that, the same thing over here. Parse flow, blah blah blah. Yeah, so in this case, if parse float is not equal, so if the tree noise or 2fix3 is not equal to 0.001, then do this. And why did I put not equal to? Because I want to make sure that there's no tree block at that position, okay? So what if, I'll just go to this tree over here. So like I said, it checks if there are any trees around me, but what if where I am, what if that's a tree, okay? Then I don't want to put a leaf block inside the tree, like inside the wooden inside the wooden trunk, right? So that's that part. I'm just checking if there's supposed to be a tree where I'm standing right now, like where the x and z coordinate is right now. And if there isn't any, then carry on do this. And this is pretty much the same as this. I have a leaf matrix, same coordinates, and yeah, exactly the same thing, but with oak leaves index, so pretty much the same thing as this. If not, I think exactly the same, apart from this log matrix. Yeah, I think, yeah. So yeah, that is that. That's the initial chunk generation of the trees. Now, let's take a look at added code for log trees. Tree detecting algorithm, yeah, I showed you that. Yeah, so now the last thing is obviously the infinite terrain generation. We have to apply this code to the infinite terrain generation, which is pretty easy, okay? I just go down over here. So this is the infinite terrain generation part. I basically went over here and did exactly the same. I copied the code the same way, can't put leaf, same algorithm, everything. What you have to make sure is that in the infinite terrain generation, we're incrementing x by 5, okay? In the initial chunk generation, we're incrementing x by 1, and later we're timesing it by 5. So in this case, we have to divide it by 5, okay? And like we already wrote this code, but that's just something to be aware of. And another thing is, instead of saying D, I called this E for some reason. But yeah, let's just keep it like that. That's fine. So whenever you copy, like when I had to copy the code and edit it, I had to change all the D's to a E, okay? Oh yeah, it's because I already have a D over here. I have like a D for loop over here for breaking blocks, okay? So yeah, I did exactly the same, just copy the same code, but what I changed is, let me just see, let me just copy this for example. Yeah, so I copied exactly the same code, and you have to make sure that you copy it into the if not blocks is destroyed, whatever, okay, into that if statement, okay. And the reason why you want to copy it into that is because it's like a natural block. And let me just paste this over here. So what I did was I pasted it and I got rid of all the instanced mesh stuff. So just the chunk part. You can see all the chunk.pushes are here. So none of the instanced meshes are there. Why? Because later we're gonna make an instanced mesh using this part of the code, which we already did a long time ago. Okay. So so all you have to do is just put the chunk.push parts. Okay. And once again, change all the D's to an E. Okay? Just like that. And yeah, let me just redo that in case I made some mistake or something. Yep. So yep. And then yeah, same thing over here. Only the chunk part, so not the instanced mesh part. And yeah, well that's it. I think we're done for this video. What you have to do next is just copy. I think I would copy it from here to all the way down to this if statement for the for loop for the depth. Just copy it and paste it in the corresponding place. So from here all the way down to here. Like in my case, it won't change because I've already copied it. It's like exactly the same. So, but in your case, it won't. Okay, because you haven't coded this. So yeah, so that was the end of this video. If I didn't explain that really well, then just comment if you have any questions in the bottom of this video. And next video, I will either take a look at bringing the performance better and maybe making the trees a lot better also. Maybe adding inventory or adding more blocks. I'll see. Okay. But if you have any suggestions for that, leave them in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in part 19 of this series.